Do you ever try to mix the perfect amount of UV resin with mica powder and pigments only to find out it won't cure under your UV light? Well, I have a solution for you. Today I'm testing out a brand new set of colored UV resin. And it's not just any colored UV resin, it's pearlescent UV resin, pre-mixed, and it cures just like regular resin in no time at all. It looks like liquid silk. So you can skip the worry and move straight to the fun. Grab your crafting supplies and let's get busy. I am super excited to show you this brand new set of pearlescent UV resins by J. Diction. As you know, I love all my colors of UV resin. I just gotta try them all. So let's get into this package and see what we've got. Comes with 10 colors, a really nice assortment. Of course, you've got your instructions and safety info and a little manual. And of course, it comes with all of the tips to put on. I'm also going to be using some of J. Diction's high viscosity and medium and low viscosity resin in today's projects, along with Resincrete. We're going to be making all kinds of fun stuff. Keychains, some magnets, some jewelry. We're just going to get ourselves into all kinds of trouble here because I'm going to do it all. I've got these adorable spring whimsy stickers. I also have some open and closed back bezels that we're going to be using. And for our magnets, I've got some silicone molds that I'm going to be pouring the Resincrete into. Now these round ones are Bilet's resin, but I like these smaller circles for refrigerator magnets, so I'm going to snip out the tabs in them so that we can pour those. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and mix up some Resincrete. I have a lot of videos showing how to do this, so I'll go through it pretty quick. It's a really nice product. It's a powder that you just mix with water. It's eco-friendly, easy to use, no smell, no sticks, no mess. You just mix up the appropriate portions, and in my case, close is good enough. This stuff's really forgiving, so if I go a little bit over or under my measurements, we're gonna be a-okay. You've got 8 minutes working time to get this mixed up and poured, and it will be ready to demold in 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pour these. I'm not going to pour them all the way to the top because you see I didn't make quite enough, but it doesn't matter because we're just making magnets out of them, so they don't have to be all the way thick. I'm going to set those aside to cure up, and while I'm waiting, I'll go ahead and prep some of our other projects. I've got UV resin tape. And I just use these popsicle sticks to kind of serve as handlebars, so it's easier for me to move my items around without sticking to the tape. They're not exactly flat, so I kind of try to flatten them out as best I can, and then really burnish them and rub them into the tape. And the silicone mat underneath really helps when you're burnishing because you can kind of press into it. It's a little bit spongy, just enough to press into to make sure you get a really good seal on that tape, and then I flip it over and do the same to the back. And I went ahead and did a set of earrings too. I'm going to try all kinds of things with this product. And as quick as that, my Resincrete is ready to demold. I'm going to pop those out and get ready to start testing out our pearlescent UV resin. They need to air out a little bit more before we start putting resin on them. So I'm going to set those aside, get my air purifier and gloves on, and let's do a little sampling of these pearlescent resins because I want to know what colors we've got to work with before I start mixing and matching and putting them down on my bezels and my magnets. And holy cow, to get opaque pearl colors that are UV resin is phenomenal. And the yellow, wow, I don't have a yellow like this. It's actually a really vivid, deep color. The reason I like to do this is because the label will say it's a certain color, but you kind of never know what you're going to get with these colored UV resins. But so far, I'm totally impressed. And then, of course, you've got your pearl white. And while I'm at it, let's do a little blending to see how these could potentially blend together. Because don't forget, you've got 10 colors, but out of these 10 colors, you could possibly mix them together and come up with more colors. And you can get some really cool effects when you mix and match these as well. And as always, I will have the supplies all listed down in the description below my video, and there'll be coupon codes for a lot of these products. So be sure to check that out and save yourself some money. Well, now that we've got our sampling done, let's start making some jewelry. On this first one, I'm just going to play with a bit of an ocean theme. I'm going to start with the blues and blend those a little bit together. And I don't want it to be all the way to the top of the bezel because I want to leave room for a domed clear coat. We're going to give that a cure, going with a little bit of white. And anytime you don't want your colors to blend, just cure it in between. If you want them to blend, of course, don't cure it. The greens are gorgeous. And if you mix them together with some of the blue, you get just a gorgeous turquoise-like color. I can see doing more seascape themed projects using some of these. But today I'm just going to do a lot of playing to show you the diversity of using this kit. And no, this video is not sponsored. However, I am an affiliate with J Diction. So if you use my links, they give me a little extra something, but it's totally up to you. And I've got these little sea creatures. They're actually for decorating nails. And that's a great tip is when you're looking for tiny little things for your resin, go to the nail decorating category. I'm going to use some of my high viscosity, which high means thicker, and I'm going to pop a little bit onto my earring and place some starfish and a little shell. And let's also add a little bitty pearl. Give that another cure, and I'm only curing these for about a minute, and then at the end I'll cure them for 2 to 3 minutes. And now I'm just going to add a clear coat, a domed top coat to them, spread that around and pop the bubbles and cure it under our light. This is so beginner friendly. Look how easy that was to create a really pretty pair of earrings, or you could make them into anything you want. Let's cut out some of these stickers and make a few magnets. What I'm going to do is use my pearlescent colors as a backdrop for my stickers. And again, we're just playing and having fun and going with the flow, quite literally the flow. And these UV resins are thick, so I would recommend after you get them put together to put them upside down so that your resin can get to the tip a lot quicker. And I want to give a shout out to my creative crew members who give me a little extra support on my channel every month. Thank you, thank you. And also to whoever it was that bought me a cup of coffee. I really appreciate that. I'm going to cure that just for a couple of minutes. And then I want a little bit of distance between the pearlescent and my sticker. So I'm going to put a clear coat of UV resin on top of that. Spread it around, pop those bubbles, and then under the UV lamp. And here's what that looks like. We've got a nice little domed top. Be sure to let your piece cool down before you apply your stickers. And I think this little garden fairy is going to be perfect for the colors I have here. These are UV DTF stickers, so they're made of a material that won't bleed out when you put them in resin, and they just transfer onto your object. And then you're ready to add your clear coat. And this is where that high viscosity comes in because it's also thick. It domes up really, really nice. Going to give that a cure, and here is our first magnet, minus the magnet because I still have to put those on the back. Let's make another magnet. Now this one's quite a bit bigger and it's going to take up a lot of pearlescent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down some clear UV resin and blend it with my pearlescent so that I don't use up a whole bottle just on one magnet. I'm going to mix some white and pink into my clear and swirl it all around. You can get some really cool effects doing that too. Pop those bubbles. I think this mouse is going to look adorable on here. Give that a cure. And now I'm going to let that one cool down before we put our sticker on. And let's go ahead and put down some pearlescent resin in our open back bezels. Kind of have an assembly line going here because I don't want to take my gloves on and off. So I'm going to go kind of crazy on this first one. I'm going to mix the colors that you are told not to mix because they turn to mud. You know, some green, some purple, some orange. Swirl them around a bit because it's just fun and I want to see what happens. I'm going to add a little purple in there. It'll make a good backdrop anyway for our sticker. And on the next one, I'm going to do some of that purple. Look how delicious these colors are. I mean, don't eat them, but they're luscious, beautiful, gorgeous. You get the drift. Gonna mix in some pink. That's really pretty. And give those a cure. And here's what they look like. And now that everything's cooled down, we can add some more stickers. Isn't this little mouse so sweet? He's a field mouse. You might have to trim up some of the sticker that's sticking out on the edges, but it comes off real easy. And then we'll add another fairy to this bezel and our hummingbird to the other one. I should have peeled these off before I placed my stickers. Kind of made it a little difficult. And I also made one with some blue and green. Isn't this one adorable? All right, now that we have all of our stickers down, we're going to put another top coat of our high viscosity UV resin on top. Spread those around, let them dome up really nicely. Pop the bubbles and under the UV lamp. And here's what those look like. And you can continue to dome these up as much as possible before the resin starts going over the edges. Sometimes I'll dome them up 2 or 3 times actually, because the more you dome them, the more the image pops underneath. I think these ones would make great keychains. I've got another idea. I'm going to get out my butterfly molds. These aren't technically for UV resin, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. And I've got some real dried flowers. And the first thing I'm going to do is put in some clear UV resin. And I'm going to spread that around, pop the bubbles, and put in, I'm thinking I want to use the white pearlescent in the background. So I'm going to do some pink flowers. Just kind of placing them here and there, no particular order. let your imagination go wild and experiment and have fun with this. And because I'm putting in those opaque flowers, I need to make sure the resin underneath gets cured. So I'm put together my UV light because it actually is a double-sided lamp, which is perfect for this. Put another clear coat because again, I want to build layers and distance between that and my pearlescent. Give it a cure. And then I'm going to mix some clear UV resin with some white pearlescent UV resin. Again, so I don't use it all up. Mix it and swirl it about. And let's see what we've got. It's really pretty. However, some of my resin leaked underneath, probably because I was moving my mold by hand back and forth instead of just building it on my UV light. Now I'm loving the yellow. I don't have a pearlescent yellow like this. So I know it's not going to be realistic in my little honeycomb findings, but I want to play with it. I don't care. I love this yellow. So I'm just going to pop some of that into my little honeycombs. If you like the honeycomb themed jewelry and pendants, I did a whole video last year on them and I made a bunch of different things with them and they were super duper cute. So be sure to go check that one out if you're into this. I love these little honeycombs and this yellow resin looks so pretty in there. And then I've got these bees with those sparkly wings. And I think that I'm going to end up putting these two honeycombs together and making one necklace. So stay tuned. But I just wanted to show you how easily you can make jewelry by using these kind of bezels. And I've got these little sea turtles. So look how quick this is. I mixed two colors, gave them a cure, put a little drop of clear coat on the top to dome them up. And you've got a pair of earrings, sea turtle earrings that you made. Super easy, huh? And here is my honeycomb bee. I glued him on, added a few more crystals, and combined the two together. And I think it's so adorable. Now for our dragonfly. I have a whole package of these, and you can see that they're actually starting to oxidize. The colors are changing. You know, they weren't the most expensive, but I thought, let's have fun and fill this up with color. And as I was doing it, it was so relaxing and therapeutic. It was kind of like an adult coloring book, but with resin. And what I did was I did one layer, cured it, and then I went back and filled it to the top with a second layer because these are kind of bent and I knew that the resin was going to sink, and that helped seal them so that I could fill them up to the top and dome them. And this actually turned out really beautiful. And I have a whole bag of these. Isn't that pretty? You could make keychains or just little backpack clips. And then on these, I just added a magnet to the back. I glued them on. So I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. And I hope that this video has inspired you to get crafty and creative. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.